Wow. Give a high five for the person next to you before you have a seat. Got a little energy in here. Okay, I have to start out by saying how impressed I am you're here this morning. First of all, you went to the party and still got up. Was that a great party? Can we have a hand from Mark and the team that put it together? Just extraordinary, wasn't it? Laughed my guts out and pretended I wasn't dancing. It was a good piece. Listen, you skipped the iPhone 5 this morning to come here. I'm very impressed. And people camping out, I guess, in Manhattan for 3 straight days, sleeping on the sidewalk. Has our world changed or what? Could you imagine 10 years ago someone standing in line overnight for a phone? We're living in a world today. I have a dear friend, and he shared a story with me. He's a minister. And he said, he had this magical thing that happened at his house. I didn't know how it occurred. He came home, he had this old crappy computer that he used forever. And he knew it needed to be retired. But he just couldn't justify the expense with the church and with everything else. And so he just kept using this lousy computer. And one day he comes home, and there is a brand new Apple computer hooked up, set up there on the desk with the printer, rocking and rolling. And he thinks, I have the greatest wife in the world. She understands men and their machines, their devices. She has surprised me. It's not even my birthday, this most extraordinary thing. So he comes home and gives his wife this incredible kiss, it's a true story, hugs her, and just, honey, you're incredible. And she looks shocked. And she says, well, thank you, honey. Why do you say that? He goes, what do you mean when I say that? This incredible computer. How did you know? How did you know what I wanted? She said, honey, I thought you bought that computer. She said, what are you talking about? You bought the computer. I go, no, I didn't buy the computer. You didn't buy the computer. Who could have bought the computer? How did it get here? After some deep investigation, they found out their 6-year-old son figured out the Apple account, went online, purchased the computer, had it Federal Express, and figured out how to plug in the printer and set it up himself at 6 years old. We're living in a world where today kids learn to use an iPad before they learn to tie their shoes. And we have this technology that's growing geometrically. We've got to see some of the new things that Salesforce is doing here. I think most of you are more than excited about it. And we all know whatever we got right now is just the beginning. It just keeps improving. We're at the beginning of the beginning of the beginning of that technology. But the question is, where are we in the software that runs all this stuff between our ears and in our heart? And that's the place that is my domain. And my domain is because I love technology, but I know that technology isn't what changes lives. It's human beings that apply that technology. Electricity can light up a city or you can kill somebody with it, right? We can take something on YouTube and inspire the world, change things in a heartbeat. Somebody who supposedly had no voice in no time. Or we can use it to just try to destroy someone's entire psyche. And people use it in all ways. Now, for you to be in a room like this and to give up 3 days of your life, get up in the morning, commit your time, your energy, and money, obviously, you didn't just come here for technology. You came here because some part of you wants to make a difference in the world. And I think people are attracted to a culture. And Salesforce, and I have to really acknowledge my dear friend Mark here, because he gives me way more credit than I deserve. But over 13 years, I got to see this man. I saw that he has this one common denominator that I see in all successful people, and that is, I travel around the world, and I've had a really unique privilege because of the times we live in. I've had the privilege now of being with 50 million people vicariously through my products and services, but I've been with 4 million people live in 100 countries. At this point, I have to be an idiot not to see there's certain patterns that cause people to be crazy, frustrated, angry, and other patterns that make people passionate, alive, fulfilled, have a deep sense of meaning in their life. So what I want to work with you on this morning is pointing those things out to you in a way that maybe you can use them immediately. Because frankly, most of what I'm going to share with you from my perception, and I think it'll be from yours too, is common sense. I work hard to make it common sense. Most people make things much more complex when they feel smart and they never do it. I want to make it so basic. And by the way, how many of you notice that common sense is not too common? Say I. Right? It's like, oh, I know that. If you know it but you're not doing it, you don't know it. You're aware of it. Knowledge isn't power. We also hear knowledge is power. It's bull. Knowledge that's acted upon, right? There's some real power. So, and we don't need a million ideas to change our life. We need a few of the ones that really shift us, that affect the software that runs the whole game, that affects the web of connection in your head and heart that shapes it all. But what I found in working now over these years with millions of people, 4 million people in my live seminars, is that these patterns are really obvious. And the most obvious patterns, people say, what is the secret to the greatest level of success? You've met all these incredible, crazy people. Or they'll ask me something like, who's the most influential person you've ever met? Who surprised you the most? I always say Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, I got the call after the ear bite. And I got to put him back together, and I'm sitting down with him, and I was blown away. I'm sitting down with this man, and he's quoting every religious book on the planet, the deepest literature you could ever imagine, a level of intelligence I never dreamed this man had. When he was in prison, he got all the different gangs together, white, black, every group, and he said, listen, we're all fighting each other, we're the ones that are together, they're the outside people, they don't care about us, we gotta care about each other. If you talk to the head of the prison, the warden will tell you it's unbelievable what he did. And so he'd be telling me all this incredible stuff, and then all of a sudden in the middle of it, after quoting something just incredibly moving, I'm thinking, how does he even know this? And then he'd say, and then other days I think, I just like, if you could kill everybody on the planet by pushing a button, I'd just do it. So I've seen and worked with a lot of people. I've had kind of a ticket to history, sitting down with Gorbachev and finding out what ended the Cold War, visiting with a few presidents at key moments in time. But I can tell you that the common denominator is what everybody in this room has to succeed. That's why you are who you are. And that is, there's a certain amount of passion, a certain amount of drive, a certain amount of, if I was going to give it one word, I'd say it's hunger, isn't it? Because the most successful people never lose it. And the people that fail never find it. Or they find it for a while and they get fulfilled too easily. This guy Mark Benioff here, I know him personally. Everything you see is what you see is what you get. There's no hiding it. This guy is hungry. He's driven to constantly do more, add more value for you as his clients and customers than anybody in the world, but also add value to his community and to the world. I just want to thank you, Mark. Can we have a big hand for everything you've done here? So that hunger I know is alive in you. So if you want to think about what shapes our life the most, think of two words: invisible forces. How does a person's life turn out? Why do some people's lives turn out to be such a pain? Some people have these great dreams and most people just talk about that dream. They never actualize them. And there's a few people that find a way to do it. It's those invisible forces that shape everything. The most obvious ones: gravity, radiation, electricity. You don't see these things, yet they affect us. But how about hate or love, as Dean was talking about? Those are the forces that start wars, that begin relationships and end relationships. Often we're so caught up in the cognitive aspect of our brains, we've forgotten what it was that really changes us and what really shifts us. And that's what I'd like to talk to you. Now, when I say talk to you, it's incredible, a privilege to be here, but it also, honestly, even for me, feels like a significant challenge and excitement. And the challenge is because the shortest program I normally do is 50 hours, 50, as Mark knows. And that's not because I'm crazy. Imagine, most people won't sit for a 3-hour movie someone spent $300 million on. And I gotta go with you for 50 hours. I don't do it by forcing anybody. You can leave at any moment, just as you can today. But what we get people to do is to tap into what we're gonna talk a little bit today, which is your deepest needs. How long is a long time? Well, can a minute feel like an eternity? When someone's going to come tell me whether I had a tumor in my brain or not, felt like the longest minute of my life. But when you're having a great time, hours can go by like that. That's because even time is psychology. I'm here basically to say to you that if you and I want to have an extraordinary quality of life, this is what I focused on for 35 years, is what creates an extraordinary quality of life? What creates peak performance? How do you get greater results from yourself or anywhere else in any area you want to go? But if you've got peak performance and you don't have fulfillment, you have a real challenge. I believe there's two master lessons in life. The first lesson is the science of achievement. How do you take what you envision and make it real? How do you take the excitement you have in your head and convert it into reality? And it's a science, meaning I don't care how old you are, what background you have, what belief structure you have, what age, what gender. We all know there's certain rules of success in anything. And you know, if you follow those rules, you win. There are rules of the body. We're all biochemically unique. But there's certain things that if you do them in excess, you're going to have dis-ease in your body, as Dean was talking about here earlier. It's not hard to figure out. On the other hand, there's certain things that if you do them in the financial world of your life, you're going to have an abundance of money as opposed to too much month at the end of the month. But the science of achievement, to me, is so important and so valuable. My life really, this stage, is really focused on the art of fulfillment. That's the other master lesson of life. The art of fulfillment, notice, is not a science. And the reason is because what fulfills you and the person next to you, even if you're friends, can be very different. That's the beauty of life. It's the diversity of life. If you go out and you want to see what the universe, God, whatever term you want to use, whatever you feel has created this place we're in, this gift we're in, and you want to see what God or the universe believes in, go to any forest and look at the level of diversity of animals and plants and everything. That's the beauty of it all. But for most of us, we think that we're going to be fulfilled by doing what everybody else is doing. And rarely does that happen. Who here has ever set a goal, went out and actually achieved the goal, and then your brain went, is this all there is? How many have ever done this before? Say aye. Oh, come on, I know you're out there. Say aye. Isn't that a scary moment? It's much worse than failing, because when you fail, you know, I can step up and still find another way to make it happen. But when you succeed and you're unhappy, you're screwed. Isn't it true? And how many of us have known someone who's got this great level of success, and yet they don't have that sense of fulfillment? That's because the art of fulfillment, it's an art, it's different for every person, but there are some principles. You have to grow to feel alive. There's nothing, we all know, you grow or you what, my friends? You what? You die. That's true of a company, that's true of a relationship, that's true of ourselves. Anytime we stop growing, we start to die. That's why that hunger is so important. Not just so we can achieve more, but so that we can be fulfilled, and then when we have more inside of us, we have more to give. Those are two elements of what I'm focused on. So as I said, normally in 50 hours you go, okay, all right, how are we going to do it today? They give me about 3 hours or less with you here, and I think there's a format I've got today that you're going to find really useful. I'm going to cut it down, keep it really tight, but give you some tools. Some tools that I think can make a major difference for you. Because I have a real belief, and it's based not just on belief, but experience. I often tell people, a belief is a poor substitute for experience. You can believe something all you want, but if you experience it, you know it's true. And so I want to give you some experiences today, some very simple things that can make that shift for you. But one thing I know by experience is, people often tell me, well, it took me 10 years to make this change. No, it didn't. It took a moment. The moment you said, it's over. Let's begin. I do. I love you. Whatever it is, there's a moment in which you make a decision. I would submit to you, it's those moments of decision that change our life. The problem is most of us take 10 years to get to those moments. But that can change very rapidly if you know how to shift your emotional state and your energy. And that's what we really want to be able to do here. There's those moments I call breakthroughs. A breakthrough is that moment where all of a sudden something was impossible, or you talked about doing it for years and you keep verbalizing it and you never follow through, and then finally one day something inside you triggers you. You meet somebody who touches your heart. Somebody believes in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Somebody challenges you in a way that pisses you off enough, you go, not another day, not an hour, this is changing now. Who's had one of these moments before? Say, ah. Or maybe you learn a tool or a strategy that suddenly you now know, because of this, I can make it all work. It can be a strategy, it can be a conversation, it can be meeting a role model. It can be getting angry enough, it can be getting excited enough. And the reason I say that to you is, how many of you have something in your life you'd like to change and make better today, if you could, if you had the power to do it? How many have something you'd like to change and make better? Say aye. Thank you. By the way, I'm asking you to yell out aye because if you sit passively and listen to me while having this session, research shows that within 3 weeks you'll remember 10% of what I said, which means I wasted your time and you wasted your time. So what I'd encourage you to do is when we talk a little bit, you might want to jot down a few notes, because even if you never read them again, research shows you'll retain about 50%. It's just the physical act of writing it down drives the group deeper. I'm also going to ask you to do some exercises with me, including yelling out answers and so forth, because when you activate the body, the retention jumps into the 80, 90, 95 percentile. How many want to go for it like this? Say ah! All those opposed? Motion's carried. So here's what I really want to give you an experience of. Let's do this before we do anything else. If you're not going to create that kind of a breakthrough today, if we're going to make a change in minutes that we were struggling with for a long time, what we really have to do is create that breakthrough moment. I'm going to show you some ways to do that, but I will tell you that none of this works without energy. If you and I think about the things that people have who are able to move us, there's an energy in them. It comes in various levels of intensity, but it's there. Richard Branson, does the guy have any energy? We were with him backstage, and we were trying to help the poor man get in state, because it's really hard for Richard to get excited about things, as you can imagine. And all of a sudden he grabbed a chair, he's looking at Mark and I, and he goes, this doesn't work for me. And he grabs a chair, he climbs on top of the chair, and on top of the two of us, right? Energy is the base. So before we do anything else, I'd like to ask you this. You've been sitting for a while. Would you stand up just for a moment before we start? Stretch your body just for a second. Stretch it up. Shake your body out. And just for a moment, I want you to find somebody you can challenge. Once you find somebody, go walk up to them and go, I own you. Go ahead, try. Come on, find somebody. I own you. Here's what I want you to do. Before we do anything else, how many of you know people who just by their energy and their state can suck the energy out of a building? How many of you know people that they enter the room and you feel better about life when they get there? How many of us are like guys? Like say ah. Which one are you? Well, I'm neither one of those extremes. I'm the more middle. We have been taught and conditioned by society to fit in. Yet anybody that you really respect or like usually didn't fit in. And one thing that they have is an energy. And I know some people are over the top. I'm probably over the top for most people's view. But what you really want to do is tap the most extreme and powerful part of you. And that only happens if you go in this state. So here's what we're going to do very simply. I want you to face the person who said, I own you, which very simply means I challenge you, old person. Your job is really simple. We want to create a level of energy in this room that has never existed before for just 30 seconds. Meaning, you're going to show your partner beside you, you're going to outdo their energy. You're going to show them how you'd be celebrating if you had the greatest victory of your life. Whatever you want most, you achieved your ultimate business goals. You got your 2.3 magical children. You had your first extraordinary orgasm, whatever it was for you. But I mean celebrating unleashed like a little kid, not like a boring adult that says, why are we doing this crap? Who's going to go for it here? Say ah! I'm talking about unbridled, jumping, leaping, energy, excitement for just 30 seconds. Let me tell you why. If we do this for more than 30 seconds, you'll get too excited too quickly. What am I going to do? Just 30 seconds. Who's with me on this? Say ah! Face your partner on the count of 3. Let's clap to it. 1. This crap. How long are they going to keep you up here? Make sure you're sitting back in your chair. Don't collapse. Sit in your chair in a peak state. Because peak performance comes from being in a peak what, my friends? Peak what?
State.
State. How many of you have ever done something and after you did it you went, that was me. You have no idea how you pulled it off, but you impressed the hell out of yourself. Who's done this before? Say ah! How many have ever done something and after you did it, you went, I can't believe I said that, I can't believe I did that, that was so stupid. Who's had one of these? Say ah! Is the difference your ability? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No, you can do it in the same context. The difference is the state, the psychological, emotional state that you're in. In a peak state, you will come up with resources that will blow your mind. Whenever you talk to people about why they fail, I spoke at TED about 6 years ago for the first time. Had no idea what TED was. Showed up in this dark little room with 1,000 people. And they told me who was in the room. I was like, wow, pretty influential group. And then the first thing they said to me is, now, don't get people doing that jumping shit, okay? Don't do that. And then the founder of TED, or not founder, the owner of TED, who didn't know me at the point, and was not terribly impressed by who he thought I was, got up and gave me this very interesting introduction, and it did not exactly produce some energy in the room. And so I thought, how do I reach these people that are multi-billionaires and basically started the tech industry, and some of these brilliant engineers in here that know that they're brilliant and everyone else is stupid? Because some of them, I watch that person get up right before me and speak This brilliant woman explaining string theory in 18 minutes. And people are like, oh. So I had a good sense of what it was. So I asked the audience a question at one point. I started out and I said, listen, I like to talk about failure. I said, who here in this room has ever failed? And I got the same response I just got in this room. Like 3 people raised their hand. I said, thank you for your full participation. I said, I know you're out there, I can hear your hearts beating. Let's try it again. How many of you here have ever failed in this room? Say, ah! When you failed, what caused you to fail to achieve your goal? Or better yet, how many of other people failed you? How many of this happened? Say, ah! How, when you went and confronted them why they didn't fall through, didn't make it happen, what was the reason they gave you? What was the reason? Tell me, why did you fail? Why did someone else fail? Tell me.
The economy.
Not enough time. Somebody else. Not enough money. Not enough resources. Don't care enough. Most people don't share that with you. I just didn't care enough. Screw you. Rarely do they say that directly. You might find that on their Facebook. Right? Kind of change that. What else they say? Didn't have the right people. And by the way, guess what the people say? Didn't have the right leader. Isn't it true? What else do people say? What else has been the reason? Don't have the technology. Don't have the contacts. Bad timing, competitors stronger. Now, I'm doing this conversation. In the darkness, I hear this voice, and the voice says, I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. I look down, and it's Vice President Al Gore. And everybody clapped like crazy, because after all, it's Silicon Valley. We know this is the Republican stronghold of the planet, right? So everybody's clapping for him like crazy, and he stood up to the little, bow. I laughed, and I said, well, that's one way to explain why you didn't become president of the United States. Ooh, wow, you didn't work very well in this room either. I said, but I'd like all of you to think about these things you told me. Didn't have the time, the money, the technology, the education, not enough energy, not enough research, terrible people, terrible management, not enough Supreme Court justices. I said, there's a common denominator for all these things. What's the common denominator that really makes us fail? You're all telling me I don't have the resources. But in my experience, and I have a privilege of being with 4 million people live, not managing all the correspondence and connection and relationship. I mean live events, immersion with people, one-on-one coaching in moments of truth with some of the most influential people in the world, some of the most challenged people in the world. What I found is resources are never the problem. It's always a lack of resourcefulness. That if you're resourceful enough, you can get the resources. And when we start thinking it's the resources, we create a limitation. This character here, he was dreaming of building a $100 million company. Is it true? That would have been like a very exciting $100 million company. And his resources, his creativity, his energy, some history, some experience, but he tapped those resources at a very different level. And he got other people to get resourceful at levels I couldn't imagine. That's why we have these tools. And you got a $3 billion company, and a company that makes a difference in its community around the world. Because somebody forgot to maximize resources. If you went back to 1978, and you looked at a little company like Walmart, you go, guess what? Read all the newspapers back then, all the financial news about Walmart. And guess what they all said? What did they tell you to do? Sell. They have 78 stores, right? They're maxing out. Kmart had, 851, 1,300 Sears had 851. I mean, it was a tiny little company, but they said, look, there's such a small market for people that want these massive discounts. That's what they said. And he's out of what? Out of what? Resources. And so people bailed in mass. But what's the story on Walmart? How'd that story turn out, I wonder? Right? Here's a guy who's got how many stores today? Over 10,000 stores. And with all due respect to Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, you can put them both together, they're not even close to the Walmart fortune. They just split it up amongst all the kids. Blows away all of them. And by the way, they're doing now 419 billion, $500 billion. Not bad, the big T. The only time you hear the T normally is in government. This is one company almost there. Pretty amazing, all by being resourceful enough. So I said, it's never really the resources, it's resourcefulness. What does that mean? Resourcefulness comes in human emotion, that invisible force that makes everything else work. Who's with me on this? Say ah. See, if you're creative enough, can you get the money? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
If you're determined enough, can you find a way through the problem? Yes or no?
Yes.
If you care and you're compassionate enough, can you get people to help you even if you can't figure it out yourself? Yes or no? Yes. So I said, that's not the challenge. The challenge is not the resources, it's the lack of resourcefulness, and that's what I want to show you how to trigger, because we don't always feel that way. How many days when you wake up in the morning and think to yourself, I don't want to talk to people today? How many have thoughts of this a day? Say, the crazy world we live in, you can get by with that shit, can't you? You can text, you can all that other crap and not talk to a human all day long. No humans, right? But does your state affect the way you interact with people, even if you try to hide it, even through what you write, yes or no?
Yes.
It sure does. So when we change our state, we change our world. Just write it down. Change your state, change your life. That's how you do it. And then we've got to have certain states that we've got in habits of that don't support us. In fact, there's a great little book out, I met the author yesterday, called Positive Intelligence. And the book really shows you that most people have certain states, he calls them personalities, that people go into, like the judger. When you're in a judgment state, we know you're going to judge other people, you're going to judge yourself. Very little is going to come good out of this. Unless it's time to judge, like to evaluate something. But most of life isn't about judging every moment. And when you do that to yourself, you're miserable. He's done a really good job. I highly recommend the book. But bottom line is this. If you and I are going to change our life, we've got to change our states. We've got to find which states support us and which states we need to make a shift in. And we've got to do it very quickly. And if we get rid of the stories, we don't have the resources, then there's no limit to what you can create in your company, in your life, in your children, and your level of happiness. You got to stop thinking about the resources, because otherwise you're going to look around and go, it's no surprise right now, it's not a big surprise that the economy we're in right now is one of the most challenging ones in history. And for anyone, how many think it's going to get a little tougher before it gets better? How many would agree with me on this? Raise your hand. Say, Now, it doesn't have to be tougher for you, because everybody deals with seasons differently. Some people freeze to death in the winter, other people ski and snowboard. Spend time with a family, build it stronger. And that's really, you can take advantage of every season. And Salesforce is doing incredibly well, and the companies they're working with, because they're stepping into the next season already with the technology ahead of time to prepare. But we got to be able to do that. And we can only do that if we really orient ourselves, just taking advantage of the season by understanding it's this resourceful. So I came back to Al Gore and I said, I watched you last night, and it was the night before, it was the first time he'd given his talk, I think on a public venue, which was, what was the movie called? Inconvenient Truth, right? And he did it, and Al was on fire, man. Now, Al on fire is an interesting thing to see. He really was, and he had these textures, all of us, me too, just completely engrossed. Even people that wouldn't have agreed with him were engrossed by it. It was that passionate, that intense. And I said, listen, I was going to tell you, in my experience, and of course, I never ran for president of the United States, it's easy for me to say. But I just got to tell you, you didn't become president of the United States for a reason. I watched the debate between you and Bush. I wanted to vote for you. But that guy up there in that set of states, I just couldn't. I said, if the guy who was up here last night had been running, you wouldn't need those damn votes. It wouldn't even come to a vote, wouldn't even close to a vote. And everybody stood up and did a standing ovation. He kind of came up and gave me a little high five. And we talked about it afterwards. He got it. Your state is the element that affects everything. Who's with me on this? Say aye. So if we're going to do that, how do we shift it? Well, let me tell you how I came about this, just a little insight for a second. I've been obsessed for 35 years with a simple question. And that question is, what makes people do what they do? Why do some people perform at this incredible high level consistently, some people once in a while, some people never? Why are some people so successful but unfulfilled? And I really believe success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. A life without meaning, no matter how successful you are, then you fail. The whole game is over. And we've all seen people like that check out. They seem to have everything and they check out because they helped everything outside themselves, never mastered the inner world. That's the piece that I've been interested in most. Because if you shape this, you can shape the other things as well. So I started out very poor financially, emotionally, and role models. There wasn't a lot of great things. And when I met my fourth father, I said, Mom, I'm confused. And then I dared say, I think there's a common pattern here, Mom, and look what's wrong in your relationships. It's not a good thing to say to your mother when you're a child. But I was already kind of figuring out the psychology just to survive. I went to high school, I was not a popular kid, but I've always loved people. And I couldn't understand how the most popular kid in school was the meanest son of a bitch in the world to me. And he was the most popular guy, I just didn't understand. So it made me want to understand people and what influenced them, what touched them, and what shaped them. In my early kind of studies, I read books. I'd go to the library. I'm old enough to remember when we had libraries, no web. And I'd go to the library and I'd read biographies and try and study these people's lives and figure out what I could do to make myself a better and stronger human being. And in the beginning, before I started reading these biographies, I had this theory. Because we all come up with a story about why our life is the way it is. If your life's great, you have a story about why it's great. If your life's not so great in some area, you got a story, a set of reasons about why it's that way. And it's usually not your fault. It's just a human need for a sense of identity. So bottom line is, I came up with this theory. It's really simple. I grew up poor, my parents never got along, there was this violence and horrible stuff in the environment, and so of course, we weren't going to be the chosen ones. Other people had this great background, great love, great support, great education, great economics, so their life would be wonderful. And in reality, you can only lie to yourself so long in the world we live in today, right? That's the beauty of the world we're in today, because everything's right in your face. And so quickly I began to realize, I'm just lying. Biography is not destiny. You look at some of these people's lives who've contributed the most to society, and often they've gone through the most hell. Have you ever noticed that the people that often you give the most to screw you over the most? Who's had this happen before? Right? And it hurts, it hurts. And sometimes you close down and that just hurts you. Because closing down your heart's not gonna help you in any way. On the other hand, you ever notice that the person's raised by somebody and they love them, they take care of them, they anticipate them, they never want them to get hurt, they try to protect them everywhere, and they spend their whole life then going in and out of rehab. And then you find people's life is just stomped on, seemingly crushed, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, you name it, sexually. And sometimes they become the people that change society as a whole. What would you say would be the future for a child if I told you this is the child's background? The child's mother became pregnant and had her when she was 13. There was no father there. Now if you just thought of that alone, a child raising a child, what do you project as the future here? Most of us already have a story for this. By the way, what about if that child then becomes sexually abused multiple times by family and friends before she's 13? And what if she doesn't know who her father is, has no father figure? And what after all that, and even the sexual abuse, she becomes pregnant, and at 13, she has a birth, but the child is stillborn. What would a stillborn child do to any full adult, much less a 13-year-old girl? What's the future of that child? And of course, that child's so messed up inside, they find she's so intense, they put her in this little institution for girls, and sure enough, there aren't enough seats, so they can't keep her very long, and they release her to a man who finally comes and claims he's her father. By now I know you know who I'm talking about. Whose story is this?
Oprah.
Who is it?
Oprah.
Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most incredible female leaders in the world, someone who's a thought leader in so many different areas, someone who cares, someone's got $3 billion and she's out trying to build a network in her spare time so she can put something positive out for the world. I mean, incredible human being comes out of this. Yes, give her a hand. I totally agree with that. Absolutely. See, if you've got hunger, it's not because things went well for you. I'm here to tell you what you already know. Your deepest pain is your greatest gift if you figure out how to use it. It's the fuel that will make you unique and different than anyone else. The pain I felt, I don't want any human being to ever feel. What drives me, I love to light people up. I live for that. I know what you're going to look like by the end of the session. I know how you're going to feel. I don't know how we're going to get there. It always changes, but I know you're going to get there. It excites me. And I know that not only will you feel it then, but you're going to have some tools to sustain it and change your life if you choose to. But I also hate suffering because I've suffered enough, I don't want anybody else to. And that made me obsessed. I want to read a book a day, which I didn't quite do, but I read 700 books in literally 7 years. Anything I could get my hands on that could change somebody's life, I want to know, figure out how to use it and apply it. The point of the matter is, our biography is not our destiny. I know I'm preaching to the crowd, but think about this. You and I work with people every day who still believe this, don't they? And they're usually the chokehold in your business. They're the people that aren't as resourceful because they have a story in their head that stops them. It's not that they're not capable, it's that story. You and I as leaders got to pull them through it. But the only way we can do this is we keep pulling ourselves to the next level. Even if your life is great, what's the next level? That's what fulfills us. That's what makes us feel alive. And so, you take a look at this type of situation. I'll give you an example. I think our society has shifted in the last 20 years, and I can pinpoint some moments that I can feel it. I wonder if you remember these moments in history as well. If you're not too young, maybe you will. How many remember in LA, decade or two ago, almost 2 decades ago, 2 rich brothers, heirs, called the Menendez brothers. Anybody remember this story? The Menendez brothers, what'd they do? They got upset with their parents and didn't have access to their money, so they took out shotguns, 2 shotguns, and they killed both their parents at point-blank range. Now here's where our world started to change. They went for a jury trial, and they said that our parents were abusive, and they got a hung jury trial. It took 2 jury trials to convict them. Now Oprah was abused too, she didn't kill anybody. But this is the mindset that started happening. And the follow-up to that, I'm sure you remember vividly, was a woman in New York who one night got very upset with her husband, and so she decided to take matters into her own hands. You know who I'm talking about? What was her name? Bobbitt. Notice that name, Bobbitt. Interesting last name. Right? What she do? She got upset with her husband, took out a carving knife, chops off Mr. Happy, takes him for a ride in the car, and then throws him in a field. In a field! And when they go to the jury trial, they go, is she guilty? Is she guilty? If Mr. Happy's not attached, she is guilty of sin. Gentlemen, if you're with me, make some noise. And you know what? I don't feel bad for this guy. I don't feel bad for him. He was an idiot. And by the way, if he was abusive, he should be punished. But that's what laws are for. This one woman is more responsible for men sleeping on their stomachs after a fight than any woman in history. Like, I don't feel bad, I really don't. I don't feel bad for him. You know what I feel bad for? The highway patrolman who want to go looking for this thing. What did they do when they found it? You pick it up. No, man, you pick it up. My point is simple. If you and I are going to change our own lives, we start with ourselves, then we can move out to other people. And we can only do that when we take that responsibility back. When Al Gore, as brilliant as he is, says, I didn't get elected because I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices, and he's about as bright as you can be, then any of us can do it, right? And our secret is to wake up out of that process, to make the shift out of that process. So what allows us to do that is really understanding those triggers that shape us. And that's what I've been studying basically for 35 years. What are those triggers? And by the way, you don't have to be very bright to see these triggers if you just open your eyes. They're around us all the time. What triggers you to get pissed off? What triggers you to get annoyed? What triggers you to judge another person instead of just feeling them out, listening and feeling for their heart? What triggers you to judge yourself? Because we don't live the same way all the time. If you overeat, you don't overeat every moment. You overeat when you get an overeating state. When you get bored or angry or sad or frustrated. Not every moment. You don't smoke every moment. You smoke when you get in a certain state. If you and I can identify what those states are and make those shifts quickly, all of a sudden we got a different game going here. We have a different set of opportunities in how we can make a shift in our life. So if we're going to do that, if we're going to make that shift, that kind of breakthrough, let me give you what I think creates a breakthrough. By the way, who here would like to have had an area of life where you really want to change something, you push, and you kept promising yourself you're going to change, you didn't do it, and then finally one day, damn it, and you did it all at one time. Who's done this before? Say I. Who's ever been in a relationship way too long and you knew it when you were there, but you still stayed there? Who's been in that place? Raise your hand and say, ah. Why did you stay? You stayed because you kept telling yourself, you know, it was good in the past, it'll be good again. Or you'd say it's going to be nice in the future because nobody else in the future, you made it up because we're so afraid of doing what will really break us through. So let me offer you really quick 3 things you might want to jot down. These are the 3 keys to breakthrough. If you have any one of these, you can break through. If you have all 3, you will. So if you think of an area you want to change, these are the 3 areas. The first thing that will break people through, and I'm going to give them to you, by the way, in reverse order of importance. In reverse order of importance. The first thing that will give you a breakthrough is a new strategy. A new strategy. If you're doing things a certain way and it doesn't work and you keep doing it, we know it's not going to get any better. The old definition of insanity, doing the same thing again and again, we all do it. But if you get a different strategy, you can change how fast, my friends, how fast? Literally in a heartbeat, anything can change. Now most people, when they're not succeeding, they often don't have the right strategy. Let's use the most simplistic example. Let's get out of business. Let's bring it personal for a moment, okay? Being overweight. 2/3 of America is overweight. 1/3 of us are obese. The question is it for a lack of strategy on how to become fit and strong and healthy? Are we lacking strategies or lacking availability of strategies? If I walked out of this building, within 10 blocks, how many health clubs would there be, do you think? If I God forbid we get up and walk. Let's say we wanted to sit here and get tools to change our health. Then what do? You can pull out your iPhone or your iPad and download 10 books in 10 minutes, couldn't you? We're not looking for resources. There are so many trainers, they're trying to find you. All you gotta do is be near one. They'll come up to you, promise you. Trainers are available, workout facilities, nutritionists, experts, geniuses like Dean. Truly a genius, I'm not saying it off the cuff. You're amazing, brother. Really amazing. Give him a hand, he's extraordinary. Dean's extraordinary because he takes what we already know in common sense and he goes get the science to prove it to those people that won't understand common sense. So they get the science and now they'll join him and actually fund these things and help these things. The point of the matter is, strategy does make a difference. I'll give you a pop quiz. So I come along here and I walk up to the average male and I say to that man, sir, tell me something. Pop quiz. Relationship pop quiz. Notice the energy of, I thought it was business, it would feel so much better, wouldn't it? Do you ever notice most people spend more time in their career than they do in their relationship? Because you feel like you have much more control there. Because when you enter into a relationship with another human being, you can have the best intent but the wrong strategy and you're screwed. So if I come along here, and I'm sure this man will know this, if I come along here and you're married, right? You're married, and you're in your car and you're driving with your wife, and you're driving for an extended period, and your wife very lovingly turns to you and says, honey, are you thirsty? Do you want to stop for something to drink? Your answer is? Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a hand. Great job. Now, that's not what he really does, but he gave us the right answer just now, right? What do most men do, gentlemen? What do most men do? Somebody says, honey, we're driving, do you need to stop using the restroom? Most men do this. They go, they think for something. No. Ladies, make a noise of how that makes you feel when you hear that. Make a noise. See, when a woman asks you, do you need to pee? She's not asking, do you need to pee? She's saying, can we talk about peeing and see if either one of us needs to, because I'm not sure if I need to or not, and if I do, I'd like to do it with you in some way. Ladies, if it's true, make some noise so the gentlemen hear us. So, not knowing this strategy, the guy doesn't even know why she's upset. He's like, I did nothing. Nothing. Why is she pissed at me? I've done nothing. She's thinking that bastard. All he thinks about is himself. I asked him if he has to pee. All he does is think of his own damn bladder. What about my bladder? Because a woman would say, what, ladies? What would a woman say? Well, I don't know. Do you want to stop? And you go, I don't know. What do you think? Because it's a different strategy. Similarly, ladies, if you come up to this person, this man, and you say, if it's your husband, boyfriend, whatever, and you say, well, would you like to go do this thing on Thursday night? And he says, no. Here's what a woman does. A man means no. A woman goes, does that mean he doesn't love me? Is he screwing around with somebody else? Has he done something wrong? Is something going on here? Was this thing? No, it just means no! Gentlemen, make some noise if that's what it means for you kids. So, you have to learn to decode. So if you don't have these strategies, life can be really a painful experience with the people you love the most. But, having said that, while strategies are critical, strategy is not the most important element. And I'm a strategist. How can I say that? I spent my whole life finding the strategies, how to make a change in a minute with someone, in their finances, their business, their life, and then how to sustain it. My whole life is collecting strategies. But I know that most people know what to do, but they don't do what they don't. Now sometimes you may not know those things. So sometimes it is a strategy, just a strategy to change it, because then you succeed, and that gives you momentum. Now you're like, I can do this. Who knows what I'm talking about this? When you start to succeed with a new strategy and change your whole psychology. Who's had this happen before? Say, because you found a better way. But, in my experience, the real challenge, if you're not breaking through, is the story you have about your situation. The story. Because getting fit, getting strong, truly not that complex, truthfully, right? Really isn't. Not complex, not that difficult, some fundamental things to do. Most of them know what they are. Sure, we can refine it, but that's not the problem. The problem is you're not using the strategy or even finding the strategy because you have a story that says, I'm big boned. No, you're freaking fat. Let's tell the truth. Listen, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, What's the only thing that'll set you free? The what? The what? The truth will set you free. But without the truth, you can't do anything. So I'm not judging, just tell the truth. Or the other one, people say, I've tried what? What have they tried? I've tried what? Have you tried? If you tried everything, you'd be muscle and skin and bone and strong or something different than what you are. Tell me what you tried. I've tried millions of things. Millions! Name them! Well, I've tried tens of thousands. Name them! I've tried thousands. Name them! I've tried hundreds. Name them! I did do these two stupid things that don't work over and over again. Why don't we use what we know? Because we got a story. Got a story. I was talking to Shazad, the gentleman who wrote Positive Intelligence yesterday. A really great man. Again, I recommend his book. And we had a great conversation. And he was telling me that he works with so many different CEOs. And he was saying that one of the things he's learned to do is he walks in, and CEOs are people who learn to comport themselves because they need to, right? They got to rock and roll, they got to be a leader. And he says, look, I've dealt with you guys long enough, I know you're bullshit. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write an index card, something that traumatizes you inside, something that drives you internally crazy, something you worry about, something you're afraid about, something you're tortured by. And I will not, do not put your name on it, I'm going to throw them all together and then I'm going to read them so everybody can see. And when he read me this list, I took these cards out and read them, I don't believe my wife loves me. I hate myself because no matter how much I succeed, it's not enough. I find that if anyone knew what I was really like, I feel like I would not be the leader of this group. Just scary stuff we do inside our heads to ourselves. Who can relate, not to this, but other people you know that are messed up like this? And so I'm listening to this thing and I'm thinking, wow, we come up with stories. Every one of us in this room is a storyteller. We're wired, it's in our DNA. It's how we've passed on knowledge for a millennium. The question is your story empowering or disempowering you? See, we've got an economy right now. You can have a couple stories. The economy ain't crushed me, or the economy, God, look around. Look around. Fortune 500, 65% of those companies started in a recession or depression. Winter, I call it. There's 4 seasons financially. Winter is when 65% of them started. How is that possible? Because when it's winter, everybody else gets scared. They stop marketing, they stop innovating, and people like Salesforce and people like you, who decide to innovate even more, who find a way to add more value than anybody else does, you take over the market, and you have it for 40 or 50 or 60 years or longer if you keep innovating, and you keep giving back. This is the greatest time to be alive. Winter, you gotta have a new mantra. Winter is what I'm made for. Winter is my season. This is my time. Instead of the story of, oh shit, did they really just do QE3? You mean $2.5 billion in additional debt in the last 24 months wasn't enough? It took us 200 years to get 2.2 billion in debt. Trillion, excuse me. Billion and trillion these days, you just throw them around. The T is the old B these days. 2.2 trillion it took from the time of George Washington to the end of Reagan. That's what it took to get 2.2 trillion in debt. We got 2.4 in the last 24 months. Now, if you give a guy a bottle of Viagra, he's going to rise to the occasion. But if you keep giving him a whole bottle of Viagra, it tends to work less and less, I think. Just like any other drug. And so that economy's coming. You go, oh my God, it's going to tighten up. It is going to tighten up. Your question is, are you going to tighten up or are you going to get stronger? What are you going to do? What are you going to do to create the breakthrough? You're going to need a story that doesn't limit you, but a story that expands you. You can say, you know what, while it's all tightening up, technology can give me a 2-year advantage to everybody else if I take advantage of it. If I connect. I can connect your drug to people today. I can have one-to-one relationships with many people instead of a one-to-many relationship. All because of the tools that we're learning and using here. We have the greatest advantage if we take advantage, but the story's going to determine it. If you don't have a great relationship, it might be because you don't have the skills. That's very possible. So you could get the strategy or skills. But it's more likely you have a story that all the good ones are gone, or they're gay or not, I'm from San Francisco, whatever the story is you have in your head. Somebody's got a story that's keeping them from having that relationship. Who knows what I'm talking about? You say, ah. But if you go to somebody and you just go, you know what, that's just your story. They're gonna go, I'll show you story. You don't change someone's story by telling them their story's wrong. The best way to do it is by you making the change in yourself first, right? Because when people see you shift, they become curious, how the hell did you do that? But I will tell you the third and most important one. I gave them in reverse order. Strategy, that's how you're going to break through your strategy. Or a new story, an empowering story to get you to maximize your resources, or the most important one of all, the one that will change your story is a change in your state, the thing we started with. Because have you ever noticed in a different state you have a different story about things? Who here has ever been totally pissed off at somebody, and when you're thinking about it and you're totally pissed off, did you ever notice how you can remember every freaking thing they ever did that ever upset you in your life? Because when you get that pissed off state, it's like it opens up that software, opens up that file inside your head, you remember it all. Or, by the way, can you remember a time when you fell head over heels in love? Who here has ever been head over heels in love? I mean, out of your mind. Okay, do me a favor, try something. Make this sound, just instinctive sound of being head over heels in love. Make it out loud, go ahead. Holy shit, that's all? That's it? It must have been a long time for some of you. Let's try it again. Let's add the feeling of love, excitement, passion, head over heels in love, and lust, and sensuality. Make the sound of that, go. That's a little better, very nice. By the way, when you're in love like that, what's wrong with life? What's your story about life? Could there be 2.4 trillion in debt, or 12, 16 trillion in debt? Would you be like, 16 trillion in debt? Isn't it true? Because your state affects everything. This is the electricity. Take all your technology and don't plug it in. Don't put a battery in there and tell me how well it works. That's the battery. That's the electrical source. That's the force of nature. And the way you're going to get that state back is you got to do it consciously. You can't wait for it to interrupt you and hope it's going to show up, because it doesn't for most of us. Because right now, the bad news sells, right? Think about it. In the old days, before the news was in our pocket buzzing for us, we actually walked down the street and shit. Remember that? We used to walk? And there were these newspapers. And on the top of it would say something like, if it said something like, great weather this weekend, you looked and kept walking. But if it said, big storm coming, in those days, we used to use coins. Anybody ancient enough to remember coins? You put in those coins, you popped it out, you had to know. Well, guess what? The news business today is a business. And the only way to get your attention, and the war for getting your attention in a place where there's an ocean of information coming at you, most of us are starving for wisdom, is do something to jolt you. So as a result, most people's states are being triggered by the outside world, not by you taking control of the internal world. When you take control of this, the whole game changes completely. To do it, you really got to make 3 decisions. Jot them down real quick if you would. 3 decisions will help you take control of it. You want to say, what shapes your life? Why is my life the way it is up until now? It's not your conditions, it's your decisions. There's 3 decisions you're making right now while I'm speaking. Jot them down if you would. The first one is, what are you going to focus on? Every moment of your life, you're deciding what to focus on. But the problem is, most of us make this decision unconsciously. So a pattern takes over. So I'm wondering which one of these is your pattern. Do you tend to focus on what you have or what you don't have? Say out loud which one it is if you would, just out loud. What you have or what you don't have? Which one do you tend to focus on more? Quick. Say it again. Do you tend to focus on what's right or what's wrong?
It's wrong.
Which one? By the way, what's wrong is always available. So is what's right. It's a choice. Do you tend to focus on what you can control or what you can't control? Honestly, which one do you tend to focus on? What you can control or what you can't control? You don't have the answer. Do you tend to focus on the past, the present, or the future more? Which one? Past, present, or future? Which one for you? Say it out loud. Future. Now these patterns determine your life. These simple focus patterns. I can tell you, because for 35 years, I get the phone call when the fire starts. Right, when the athlete is burning down on national television, and you got to turn around right now. And I've done that on my 35 years, about 30 years, and I don't miss, and that's why I'm still here. But I got to do it right now, and sports allow you to measure it real quick, real fast, instantaneous. Got to make that state change. First have the ability, but you got to turn them around. I get the phone call when the child is suicidal or the adult. One of the things, if you ask me, one of the things I'm most proud of in my life is that of the thousands of suicide attempts, I've never lost one. Knock on wood, someday I will, unfortunately, but not one all the time. Thank you very much. Thank you for the applause, but I didn't tell you that reason. I want you to know that it's not possible. We made films of this, psychiatrists have. They follow up with these people 4 years later to see how they're still doing. And I'm not a psychiatrist, and they all get psychologists, get credits to stay certified using my work. And we've got dozens and dozens of films of this. But it comes from understanding the things I'm going to show you. If someone only kills themselves because they think living is more painful than dying, you change that little association of state, where dying is more painful than living, vice versa, instantly that person's going to stay in. I get the phone call, true story, where the President of the United States calls me and says, Tony, I think I'm going to be impeached in the morning. What should I do? And I say, could you call me sooner? It's like, come on, right? So those patterns that shift people, I mean, once you know what they are, it's easy to make a quick change, but you've got to first change the focus. Because if you're focused on what you can't control, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be stressed. And most people do it some of the time. You watch it. Next time you're stressed, just notice the pattern you're focused. Am I focused on what I can or can't control? Am I focused on what I have or don't have? You know what the answer's going to be, don't you? Am I focused on the past that I can't control, the present, or the future? You just change that pattern and take anybody. You can take Zoloft till you're blue in the face, Prozac, you can max on every drug you can imagine, but if you don't deal with the source of the controlling focus of your mind, it won't matter. How many know somebody who takes antidepressants and they're still freaking depressed? Raise your hand, make some noise if you know, come on. Is that wild? It's because deadening yourself, by the way, isn't the answer. Making it so you don't feel pain. Sometimes pain produces hunger, drive, the desire to change things. We numb somebody up. Imagine if we'd done that to Einstein. He was crazy as shit. Some people say, well, maybe the world would be a better place. Maybe you're right. Maybe we should have Zoloft then and we wouldn't have nuclear bombs. I don't think so. Somebody else would have done it. The point is, today, we try to medicate instead of understand. Because it's more financially efficient. It takes time to understand. But its rewards are lasting. Treating of symptom doesn't. Second decision you're making every moment, you're making right now, is what does something mean? You have to decide, what does this mean? Is he dissing me right now? Or is he teasing me? Or is he challenging me? Is God punishing me with this problem? Or is God challenging me? Or is this problem actually a gift from God? Would you feel differently if you thought it was a gift versus a punishment? How much would that change your emotional state? A little or completely, my friends? Which one? And we have the choice to decide. Is this the end or the beginning? That decision that people make in an unconscious way all the time affects everything. If you think this is the beginning of a relationship, are you going to treat the person the same way as if you think it's the end of a relationship? Yes or no? Heck no. In the beginning of a relationship, when you love somebody, what will you do for them? Yell it out. What will you do for them? Come on, guys, what? Anything. If they go, would you take up the trash? You'll take up the trash. Of course, what else would please you? But then after about 7 weeks, 7 months, 7 years, or 70 years, you go, you take up the trash, and what do you say? What do I look like? You're gender? I don't know. We used to have so much passion. What do you think happened? I'll give you a little clue. Little clue for your relationship. Do what you did in the beginning of your relationship. Do what you did in the beginning of your relationship at the end of your relationship, and there won't be an end. Do what you did in the beginning of your relationship, at the end of your relationship, there won't be an end. Yes, absolutely. Because you give things a different meaning, don't you? It's not about me, it's about what you can do for them. You're trying to give love. And as a result, you feel filled with love. That's the secret. So the second thing is meaning. As soon as you give something a meaning, it produces emotion, doesn't it? Right? End or beginning, different emotion. Pissed off versus curious. Different feeling, different emotion. If you take control of that, it'll affect the third one. The third decision is, what am I going to do? What you do is determined by the state you're in, and the state you're in is controlled by these meanings and these patterns of focus. This is what shifts us. This is what makes things happen. So how many of you in this room buy this theory? My life is primarily driven by the decisions I've made. Even if they're in tough times, people use them in different ways. Who agrees with me on this? Say aye. And I want you to think about this. The most powerful decisions that we make usually come because we hit a crisis. We hit something where we feel like we have no other choice. We finally have to handle it because there's no other choice. I was talking to Ev Williams from Twitter 2 days ago, and he was telling me a little of their history. He reached out to me because he's from Nebraska, and he got my tapes back then when he's planning his escape from Nebraska. He said, I just want to thank you. And so I said, wow, I want to pick your brain. So he tells me some of the story on Twitter. Some of you I'm sure know the story, but what's fascinating to me was, I thought it was little side kind of skunk groups. So I thought, they were working on something else, but what they were working on failed. It was audio blogging. He said, I loved your stuff, other people's stuff, it seemed like a great platform. Then Apple comes up overnight and wipes out that platform for me. My entire company's gone. He said, I put 12 people in the room and we were in total crisis. What do? We have nothing. There's no way we're going to compete with Apple in this area and succeed. There's just no way. And they come up with the idea of Twitter, which, by the way, didn't work for a while. In fact, didn't work so well. In the beginning, he gave the money back to investors. Turned out pretty good for him in the end, I think. $5 million is worth $5 billion. But he created something together with the rest of that team, Jack Dorsey and the rest of the team there. They put something at this stone that we've all seen now topple, despots, change societies. Yesterday I had a chance to visit with Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn, and to see this guy's hunger still, hearing stories about PayPal. This PayPal, he told me some stories that would put your hair on the end of your neck just going, but he got these places where they were do or die. It's like when they figured that out, they had their breakthroughs. I always tell people, if you want to take the island, burn the frickin' boats. Because as long as there's a way to go back, you're not going to break through. But if you do that, you can find it. Some of you have seen, I'm sure, this young man on the internet, on YouTube, who at 17 years old had this horrific disease, genetic disease, looked like he was going to die. He was stuck in his room for a year. And so because of technology and resourcefulness and being at this critical moment, he created this little breakthrough. Can you show that little video? I'm sure you've seen before, but worth videoing and taking a look at it again. Keenan Cahill. We have no sound. This young man with just a crazy-ass state. That's all he did, crazy-ass state. Wanted to be himself, didn't try to be anything but himself. That's him. And what happened? Anybody know? Anybody know how many? Put the numbers up. Look at the number of people that have now responded to this young man. 199 videos now, 591,000 subscribers, 427 million views. 427 million views. And with sponsorship now, he's able to support himself and the drugs he needs to stay alive. How about a hand for this young man? Extraordinary. Being weird is the new cool. It's just an amazing thing, isn't it? It's like there's room for everybody to be able to do what they want today. So here's what I want to do. Enough talk. We've done this enough talk. I want to get this in your body. Is that okay? What I'd like you to do is look at this. If you and I are going to change our decisions, who agrees decisions are what shape our life the most? Say I. And the question we got to ask ourselves is what controls our decisions? What controls our decisions? And there's two forces that control your decisions. That's what we're going to play with this morning. Number one, we've already figured out, your state. You're going to make a very different state when you're pissed off and angry than if you're feeling playful. And so we need to be able to shift that state literally in a heartbeat. We're going to do it real quickly and show you how it works. It's so simple, it's a joke. Use the rest of your life. The second thing that affects it though long term is what I call your blueprint. Your blueprint is your set of beliefs, your values, your rules. How do you know when it's time to be pissed off or just laugh when somebody says something to you? You have a set of rules. If they look like this, with this certain expression, I'm cool, but if they do this, I'll beat the hell out of them verbally. Or I get angry. We're going to explore both of them, starting with state. So now, to start with state, we need to get the energy back in this room again. So I'd like you, if you would, just for a second, to think about something. Is energy a secret to success in life and business, yes or no? Yes. If they introduced me here and they said, they started this piece out tonight, they said, here he is, the author of Unlimited Power, Awaken the Giant Within, Mr. Anthony Robbins! And I walked in like this. I walked like this. Good morning. I'm Anthony Robbins, and you're not. I'm here today to share with you how you can have more personal power in your life and over the next 6,000 hours of this summer. Who's ever been with somebody like this and you just want to shake them? Let's work me on this. Say, ah! Do you know someone who just sucks the energy out of the building? How many know somebody like this? Say, ah! Do you know somebody who's not really funny, but they think they are? Do you ever see somebody who's not funny, but they think it's so funny, they laugh so hard? There's it's not funny, but you find yourself laughing? Who do you want to be with, the first person or the last one to describe? Which one? So if we're going to do that, it requires energy, and the energy does not come from food or sleep. Think about it. If you think energy is going to come in your life is because you eat, remember Thanksgiving. What happens on Thanksgiving? You go, okay, it's time to give thanks. Dr. Dean taught me the right things. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have vegetable. No, what do? You have a big thing of turkey, and maybe some ham, and some mashed potatoes, and lots of gravy, and some token frickin' vegetable on the side. And then you eat all that you can possibly eat, and then you go, I'll never eat again. And somebody goes, pumpkin pie, you go, okay. And by the way, what do you want to do afterwards? You want to go run out there and play some basketball? What do you want to do? Sleep. So trust me, food is a source of fuel, but it's not the source of fuel. Anybody's ever fasted for periods of 10 days or more, you know what I'm talking about. The level of energy on day 4 and 5 is like nothing you've ever experienced in your life. There's no food in you. So energy comes from something besides just that fuel. If you think it's sleep, how many have been exhausted out of your mind and you're just tired and then something happened and you're awake for hours? How many remember a time like that? Say, ah! You're about to have a similar experience. See? Because it's really this energy, and it's not your chronology, it's not your age. I remember vividly when I turned 40, and I've been on the road for, maybe 100 days out of 115 days. And I was doing what I love, and I was starting to burn out. And I'm used to having this great level of energy. And I woke up one morning and I was like, man, I'm having to do this with my mind, with my body. My brain's going, let's go do it. My soul's going, let's go do it. The body's going, I can't get out of bed. And so I told one of my friends, he goes, well, dude, you're almost 40. He goes, wait, come on. You're like an athlete, dude. Like, you do 50-hour weekends. You're like a marathoner and a sprinter. You got to put this energy out. He goes, dude, you're not going to want to do that when you're like 42 and shit. I thought to myself, I'm obviously hanging out with the wrong guy. Because who you spend time with is who you become. Because if you like somebody, you love them, you don't want to make them wrong. Is it true? Yeah. That's why the most important decision, one of the most important decisions you can make in your life is who you're going to make as your friends, who you're going to spend time with, because they affect you whether you know it or not. If you have higher standards than they do and you don't want to beat them up because you love them, you're going to start making things okay for them. At some level, you do it subconsciously for yourself. Not at the same level, but you move in that direction. So I decided, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change my story. Because I'm starting to get this 40-year-old story thing. Because people around me are starting noticing it everywhere. 40 story, here, I'm tired. I'm starting to see it. It's like invading my brain. So I said, here, I need a new story. I'm going to find people, I'm going to spend the next year interviewing people who are extreme athletes, but are over the age of 65. People doing things over 65 that people 35 don't do or 25 don't do. The woman who changed my life, I interviewed many of them, was a woman named Sister Madonna. Sister Madonna, Catholic nun. Sister Madonna, by the time she was 40, had never really exercised in any consistent way in her whole life. And one of the other sisters said, there's been a rumor that she was pregnant. And this sent her over the edge. Yes, even nuns do this shit. And finally, one of the other sisters said, well, you shouldn't complain because, the body is God's temple. And that kind of kicked her over the edge. So she decided she's gonna exercise, so she decided she's gonna walk 4 blocks. She was tired after 4 blocks, but every day she wanted to go 10% further. And sure enough, in 6 months, she ran a 10K. And then, in a year, a marathon. But here's what's amazing. From the age of 40 to the first time I interviewed her, which was 72, she'd run over 400 triathlons. 400 triathlons. Yes, give her a hand, absolutely. And more than 34 Ironmen. And all the Ironmen were after age 65. And we were having this conversation, and I just love this woman. I mean, she just blew out every story I had about what aging is. And I'm digging in to find, what is it? Is that what she eats or thinking? What is it? And in the middle of the conversation, we're starting to talk, and my assistant came in and gave me my tickets for the next day. I was flying to Hawaii. And she said, oh, I love Hawaii. Where are you going to Hawaii? I said, the Big Island. She goes, oh, I went to the Big Island for my 70th birthday. I said, well, that's wonderful. Why'd you go? I always dreamed of going to Hawaii. I said, well, that's great. I said, so did you have a great time? She goes, I had better than a great time. I would stay at this hotel, and I don't want to eat the hotel food, she tells me. So I go to the health food store, and I'm buying some stuff, and I see this sign. And the sign says, tomorrow, Ironman. And she thinks, my 70th birthday, Ironman? What better way to celebrate your 70th birthday? Ride a bike 100 miles, run a marathon, and swim 2.5 miles. Seems like the perfect thing for a 70th birthday. So she does. Now, if this doesn't impress you, I want you to imagine you're a 35-year-old guy, and here's what's happening, by the way. She does the marathon run, she does the swim, she's on her bike. You're a 35-year-old guy, and this 70-year-old woman is passing you on the bike. That'll give you fear. Right? But here's what's amazing. She said she'd done the marathon, done the swim, she's on the bike. I forgot the number, the mile it was, but it was more than halfway there. Call it mile 65. And the wind started picking up.